All right, let's bring in our guest joining us this hour, criminal defense attorney Joshua Kolsrud. Joshua, thank you again for joining me on the program tonight. And I want to go right to where Timothy Leary, the attorney for Zara, was talking about unconscious bias there. It's kind of the elephant in the room. He made the point she looks different, but you can't judge her differently. I just want to go over quickly who's in our jury. We have one Asian, one black, one Latino, 12 whites between the ages, and again, the overall jury, between the ages of 30 and 70. I thought it was a good thing. I think you kind of had to mention it. I think it's important. But maybe he went too far when he compared it to somebody else who was more normal looking or someone more mainstream looking. If they would have done the same thing, they wouldn't be here. Maybe that went too far. That's the way it registered with me. What did you make of that argument?
Well, you know, I feel like he needed to address the cultural differences, even though the judge did state that you can't bring up a lot of the cultural differences, including, forced marriage and honor killings. The state did this a little bit during the trial, and I think this was kind of the defense's response to that. And what the defense is really trying to do is saying, look, there are some obvious cultural differences here, and Mrs. Ali, barely speaks English, at least not to the level of a first language English speaker. And when the police arrived, she was in a panic that this was all impromptu, her response. And I do see some problems for the prosecution, specifically, and I would have liked to see this from the defense a little bit more. You can't convict Mrs. Ali if the husband did not have the intent to kill his daughter. So the first thing that the jury needs to focus on is, did the husband intentionally try to kill his daughter? Because if the answer is no, then you have to find Mrs. Ali not guilty, because you don't get there unless you transfer his intent to her. That's how vicarious liability works.
That's fair, but they did make the argument, the state did, in their closing, that there's also a principal theory for her. They talked about the time where once she gets free, now mom starts to grab her around the neck, and she's trying to finish what he didn't finish. But again, I think it goes back to what you're saying. Then you still have to believe that that's what she believed his intent to be. So fair enough. I think you're right. If they don't find his intent, they can't find hers. And he didn't really focus enough on that. I agree with you on that. All right, stand by, Josh. I want to go back to court now. The state is beginning their rebuttal argument.